Alright, welcome to lesson 6. Last lesson we just did solving one-step equation, and that's pretty basic. There's a lot of it you could probably do in your head, and as we move forward in algebra, you probably will start doing those things in your head without actually going through that final step, okay? But today we're gonna do two-step equations, which is the most common thing that you'll see and the ones you probably write down, right? So if we're solving two-step equations, the order here matters, right? This is the key. So just like when we did the order of operations unit in lesson 2, the order of how we solve these two-step equations is going to be the most important part. So if you want to think about it, we're actually going to do order of operations backwards, right? Because we used to be trying to get an answer. Now they give you the answer and we're trying to figure out how we got back to there. So the first thing we're going to do is add or subtract, and then we're going to do the multiply or divide, right? Essentially, you want to work away from the thing. So if you're looking at your lines on your notes, it's already written there for you, but you want to add or subtract the constant. That's going to be your first real step. And then multiply / divide the coefficient. Remember, those are vocab words from lesson 3. We gotta remember that. So I'm just going to make up an equation right here. Right? 4x plus 7 equals 12. This is different than we've done. This is what we're going to do. Okay? You think of it in the way also in the next sentence. It says, begin your work with the number furthest away from the variable on the opposite side of the solution. So if you just think about the solution's over here, that's 12, that's by itself, right? 4x plus 7, all of this is what we're trying to solve, right? We're trying to get rid of the 7 and we're trying to get rid of this 4 so we can get the x by itself. The number that's furthest away from the x is the 7. That's the constant, right? So we would subtract that from both sides first, then we'd be left with just 4x, and then we could go about solving this problem. Okay, so we're going to start away and work our way back toward the x. Okay, the steps again are written there for us to solve pretty easily. Okay, we're going to do these 3 as our practice problems. The first one is 4x minus 5 equals 11. Okay? Again, first step for all of these is going to be to draw this line. I want you to get in the habit of drawing that line right there, especially now because it's going to get more complicated. Okay? I need to subtract or add. You want to keep change? We can do that. Right, there's the plus negative. So I have a negative 5 there. I need to get that to be 0. I need to move it to the other side. I'm starting with the constant, the number that doesn't have a variable. So I need to add 5 to both sides, right? Notice I'm only adding it once to both sides, not to the 4x, just to this over here. That cancels. The 4x comes down, so we're left with just 4x over here. 11 plus 5 is 16. Now from here, it's always going to be a one-step equation, right? We were just doing 2 steps, we're just adding that first step. So then you're going to multiply or divide. In this case, we need to divide both sides by 4. That cancels to 1. That leaves us with x equals 16 divided by 4 is 4, right? That's the very first problem there. Now again, we can always check it, and it's already written there for us, right? So if you want to check your solution, which makes more sense this time, I think, put the 4 in for the x in the original problem. 4 times 4 is 16 minus 5 equals 11. You get 11 equals 11, so of course that is true, right? Again, we're not always going to check, but for the first couple we're going to check and make sure we did this right. Okay, number 2, I'll block this off. Number 2, 10 equals 4 minus 2b. Okay, now here's why I think keep change is important. So first thing we're going to do is draw the line at the equal sign, and then keep, change, change. So keep, change to plus, change to negative. Okay, it's gonna make more sense here. But we're still starting far away from the variable. So we're gonna start away from this negative 2b, we gotta start with a constant. This is a positive 4, so we're gonna subtract 4 and subtract 4, all right? You get 10 minus 4 over here is 6. That 4 cancels, this negative 2b comes down. I have negative 2b, I need to get rid of this negative 2. These are multiplied. So I need to divide by negative 2 on both sides. It's going to leave me with negative 3 equals b, or b equals negative 3. Those are the same thing, right? If we go to check it, we switch to blue to check. 10 equals 4 minus 2 times negative 3. I've put in the negative 3 in the spot of b. So 10 equals 4 minus negative 6. This is why we changed to plus. Remember, minus and negative is the same as plus positive. So 10 equals 10. That's number 2. Last one here. X over 2 minus 1 equals 2. Okay, a little different division, but the steps are the same. I want to draw my line. Do it in green so we can see. Draw my line. Add 1 to both sides to get rid of that 1. That cancels out, right? So you're left with just x over 2 equals 3. Now x over 2, remember what that means. That means divide, so you have to do the opposite. The opposite of division, of course, is multiply, so you multiply both sides by 2. Those cancel, you get x equals 6. If you want to check it quickly, 6 over 2 minus 1 equals 2. 6 over 2 is 3 minus 1 equals 2, so 2 equals 2, okay? Those are the first 3 examples, okay? If you turn to the next page, we got 3 more examples we're going to do very, very quickly. Again, this is the stuff that will become more and more relevant. In 2 lessons, we're going to actually apply this to some real life situations, but you'll start to see as we move on here that these equations, not only do they come up in science class, in other math, in figuring out things in construction, in accounting, in business, in real life applications of why we need to do these things. All right, 4 is about the straightforward, simplest one we can get. Okay, just 3y plus 2 equals 14. You're going to draw your line. You're going to get rid of this 2. You're going to subtract 2 from both sides. That makes them a 0 pair because they cancel the 0. So you're left with 3y equals 14 minus 2, which is 12. 3y, that's multiply, so we're going to do the opposite, which is divide. I don't know why we're dividing by 4, and you see, even I make mistakes, so it's important to go slow and realize what you're doing. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that cancels to 1y. That equals 4. Y equals 4, 12 divided by 3. If you plug that in, you get 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 14. 12 plus 2 equals 14. And of course 14 equals 14, which means we did our problem right. Number 5, 1. On the left side, 1 equals negative 9 minus 5k. All right. Keep, change, change, and draw your line, right? Keep, change, change. So we actually have negative 5. I need to get rid of this negative 9. I need to move it to that side away from the k, right? Notice it doesn't matter which side the variable's on. We're always trying to move stuff away from the variable, right? So I'm going to add 9 to this side. When I do it to 1, that cancels and I have to do it to the other. So that leaves me with 10 equals negative 5k. To get rid of the negative 5, that means multiply. So we're going to divide by negative 5. Negative 5 divided, or 10 divided by negative 5 is 2, or negative 2. So k will equal negative 2. Those are the same thing. Flip them around. Doesn't matter which way they're written. One way looks a little nicer and is a little less confusing, but they're the same thing. Okay, number 6. 4 plus w over 2 equals 8. Okay. No, nothing to keep, change, but we always draw our line. I need to get rid of the constant, the 4 first. So that's a positive 4. I need to subtract 4. That cancels, leaves you with w over 2. 8 minus 4 is 4. I have this w divided by 2, so I need to multiply, do the opposite to get that. That cancels, and it leaves us a w equals 8. Again, if you were to plug this in, it'd be 8 divided by 2, that's 4, plus 4 equals 8. Okay? Quick summary. 2. Solve a two-step equation. Add or subtract the constant first, the number without the variable, get rid of that by adding or subtracting. Then multiply or divide the coefficient by both sides, and you will most likely get your answer. Of course, you can always check it, but that's pretty much it. Check the practice problems. We'll go back to over these.